Hello everyone, this is Dr. Vaughn and I'm your instructor for MAT150. Welcome to class. I'm going to do a quick screencast video here to walk you through a couple of things just to get you off to a good start, hopefully. So every week you're going to have an awful lot of things to do. It's really important to stay on top of it, to do your things early in the week to spread out the workload because you have 2 homeworks, 2 quizzes, 2 discussion questions, and in between we'll have some projects, lesson plans that you have to do as well. So this week you have your 2 DQs. The first one, your initial response is due by Wednesday, and for DQ2 your initial response is due by Friday. In addition to that initial response, you need to engage with your peers at a minimum level of 6 posts per week total. So that means 3 maybe in one DQ, 3 in the other. That's in addition to your original response to the prompt. So what I'll be looking for your participation in the discussion questions each week is at minimum 8 total posts. The 2 for the answers to the DQs, those you get separate points for, and then 6 for your participation, which is engaging with me and your peers in those DQs. The homework and the quizzes are all going to be done through MyMathLab. And so you can access MyMathLab directly through these links. If you click on Homework 1 and go and click on your link right in here, it'll take you right over into MyMathLab. Now in my particular system, I have to enter a different way. So I'm going to just know that your entry point is going to be different. And if you don't enter through that entryway, your scores may not automatically import into the gradebook. A couple other comments about that. It used to be that at the end of the week I would manually go through and type in your scores into LoudCloud. I think that they fixed that now so that at the end of the week your scores automatically import over into the LoudCloud gradebook from MyMathLab. But the bad part of that is when you're working on the assignment throughout the week, it'll actually give you a partial score. And so if you start working on homework 1, it's going to say you have a 0 or a 5 out of 50 or whatever, some very small number of points in your homework assignment. And it's going to look like you have an F in that assignment and probably early on even in the course. That's not really the case. It's just it hasn't yet imported the full score over from MyMathLab into LoudCloud. So please just kind of be prepared for that. If there's ever an issue that the import process didn't work correctly, know that I will go in and make those manual corrections. I'll look it up in MyMathLab and I'll bring those scores back over into LoudCloud. So I just wanted to demonstrate some things about MyMathLab. If you haven't used it before, it should be pretty seamless for you. But once you do this process, this is called the crossover process. Now I'm leaving LoudCloud and I'm going into MyMathLab. So this is the instructor view. You're not going to have quite this view. You'll go right into the particular assignment. But I wanted to show you some things about the assignment. First of all, homework 1. So you can always start these homeworks on Monday, and then they're due by midnight on Sunday. It looks like I need to go through and put some times in here. I don't know why the times aren't on here. Maybe it just defaults to being midnight. If I go in here, I can actually list the questions. And so this will show you what's on homework 1, for example. And again, you won't have this view. This is kind of behind the scenes instructor view. What it shows me on here is there are 25 different questions. And it shows me the topic. And each one is associated with a chapter and a section. So in homework 1, you're looking at the chapters 1.1 through 1.2. And these are all about problem solving and pattern recognition. So we'll take a look at that in just a minute. The other thing that I wanted to show you is that there are 25 total points. And so that's 1 point for each question. There is partial credit. So if the question has multiple parts to it, you'll get partial credit for the parts that you got correct. One other thing, I'll look at the settings on here. And so you'll see that it's, again, due on Sunday at midnight. That's midnight Arizona time. So if you're in another time zone, it doesn't adapt to your time zone. You need to make sure that you've completed the assignment by midnight Arizona time on Sunday. Also know that Pearson sometimes goes down for maintenance and what have you. So it's my suggestion that you actually plan on getting it done well in advance of that deadline so you don't run up against it. You also don't see that there's any limit to the number of times that you can work on each question, and there's no limit to the number of times that you can work on the entire assignment. So you can use the system to practice over and over and over again until you get the best score. And at the end of the week, they'll only keep your best score on the homework. Now, that's not going to be the case for the quizzes, but it is the case for the homework. So now let's take a look at the quizzes. So here's quiz 1. And if I look at this, first we'll look at the settings. The quizzes, you'll only get the one attempt at it. You'll get partial credit. You've got to complete that quiz in one session, and you have a timer. So you're limited to 60 minutes for that entire quiz. So you need to make sure that you're prepared, that you have a stable internet connection, that you can sit down and you can run through all of those questions in one sitting. And that will be your attempt at doing the quiz. So my suggestion is that you use the homework to practice before you use that one attempt at the quiz. Now, one other thing about the quiz that I want to show you, and I'll have to just back out of this window here. So if I look at the questions, let's take this one, 1.1.B-5, and all the way down here, 1.1.A-4. So first of all, I want you to see that there's two different questions for number 1. And what that means is that they're pooled. So when you take the quiz, you'll get one of those two different questions. So not everybody will get the exact same questions on the quiz. And the other thing that I want to point out is if I go back to the homework and list the questions, you'll also see that 1.1-A-4 and 1.1, So in other words, the quiz questions that you're going to get are actually on your homework. So the more you practice the homework, you'll see those very same questions showing up on your quiz. So the best way to do well on the quizzes is to use the homework and to practice it over and over and over again until you're really confident in your responses for those quizzes. Neither one of them is terribly long, but you don't want to sit down and crank these out in one sitting. Generally, you want to mull them around, think about them, and kind of use them throughout the week as you contextualize your discussion questions. So you'll have the same sort of thing on homework 2 and quiz 2. Now, I want to just do one more thing. I'm going to go into the preview mode, and this is what your actual homework will look like from the student perspective. So it's going to show up here your questions 1 through 25, and if I click on this, it'll show me which ones that I have done and which ones I don't. And these I haven't attempted any of them, so they're all basically blank. But let's look at one of these questions together. Here's question number 1. Gauss's approach to find the following sum. Now, Gauss's approach is about adding the numbers and then adding them backwards. And so you'll add them twice. So if I take 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way up to 99, and then I turn it around, I'd get 99 plus 98 plus 97, ... all the way up to 1. And so each of those sums is going to be 100. So I'm going to get 100 99 times, and that's when I've added all the numbers together twice, once forward and once backwards. So 99 times 100 is 9,900. And then I need to divide that by 2 to get the actual sum because I added the numbers twice. So you divide 9900 by 2 and you'll get the sum of all those numbers 1 through 99. And that's the Gauss's approach. So let's see, I'll take that 9900 divided by 2. 9900 divided by 2 and get 4,950. And this is the answer to part A, hopefully. All right, so you're either going to get the question right or you're going to get it wrong. If you get right, you get these little positive affirmations, excellent, and it takes you on to part B. And if you get it wrong, it'll say, give this red box, and it'll let you try the problem again. And now I'm going to go on to part B. But before I leave the homework system, I wanted to show you up over here. There's a few different tools that can be very helpful to you. One is Help Me Solve This, and this will walk you through a version of the question. The numbers may be different over here, but it'll walk you through each step along the way. View an Example is a version of the problem that's fully worked out, so you can see how they've actually solved the problem from beginning to end, as opposed to this one, they make you kind of step through each of the different parts instead of just writing it all out. There's also links to videos, there's links back to the textbook, and then there's this button, the Ask My Instructor, which will take a snapshot of the problem and it'll shoot an email to me. And then I can respond to that email with help on any particular question. So that's pretty much it for MyMathLab for today. I just wanted to go over a couple of the tools that are built in that can help you get off to a good start. And finally, all the way back in the main classroom, I wanted to just remind you about the discussion questions. So in addition to doing your homework 1, quiz 1, homework 2, quiz 2, the DQs this week, we're starting off with describe the 4-step problem-solving process. This is Polya's process, and that the description of these things are in your text. So when you're going through your homework, when you're looking at your study materials, when you're looking at your reading materials, we're looking at problem-solving, numeration, and sets. What I would do is download a copy of the ebook. If you want to print it out, go right ahead. It's going to cost you a lot for paper and so forth. But just kind of have this open and go to page 4 and start looking at, you can switch up to page 4 right over here, I suppose. Okay, mathematics and problem solving. And they talk about the strategies for problem solving. And so, when you're responding to the prompts that are in the discussion questions, pay very close attention to some of the vocabulary. Look for a pattern is one of those strategies. The Gauss's 4-step, Polya's 4-step problem-solving process is understand the problem, which is trying to see the relationships. What are the variables? What's known? What's unknown? And then to devise a strategy. And devise a strategy is to pick one of these strategies for problem solving. Polya calls them heuristics. So it could be to draw a picture. It could be to look for a pattern. It could be to solve the problem backwards. And it could be guess and test. So there are specific names for these strategies. And as you start to classify a problem before you solve it, so you kind of understand the problem, and your experience in understanding problems and there's little clues or hints that will help you select which kind of a strategy you think is going to be successful. You don't know that it's going to be successful. You just think that's the strategy that I'm going to try to employ. And then you employ that strategy. That's carrying out the plan. That's the 3rd step in Polya's 4-step problem-solving process. And that either works or it didn't work. And if it didn't work, you may need to go back and select another strategy. And you might go back and forth between select a strategy, carry out the plan, select a strategy, carry out the plan. You might go back and forth several times before you actually wind up solving the problem. And unfortunately, that's where most children stop. Children stop when they solve the problem. Oh, the answer is x equals 7, and they move on to the next problem. But really, the last step might be the most valuable, and that is reflect or look back. What did you learn from doing that problem that you can take on to the next lesson? What kind of a clue? What things really made sense to you? What didn't make sense to you? And what can you take away from that process that's going to make you a better problem solver in the future? And so that little step of reflecting on what you learned and what worked and what didn't work will ultimately make you all better problem solvers, whether you're teachers or your students. All right, so I want to encourage you to read the book. I want to encourage you to use all of the help tools that are available in MyMathLab, and know that I am always here and available to help you with this course as much as I can. It's going to be a difficult course in some respects because we go out of our way in certain cases to make you a little uncomfortable. And that's not because we're trying to be mean. It's because we want you to understand things from a deep conceptual understanding. And too often when you're learning to add, for example, you learned that a long time ago, and it's so ingrained that you just do it because that's the way you've always done it. But that's the way you've always done it is not something that you can use in teaching other children how to do this. It's not going to be very effective to say, just do it this way because I said so. You have to give them some understanding of why that process that you're showing them how is going to be helpful to them. And so that's what we're trying to do in this particular course is give you challenging problems so you can experience what it's like to go through the problem-solving process for problems that you don't necessarily know the answer to. And we're going to ask you to add in base 5 or base 6 or base 7, not because you're going to do that on a regular basis or ever really in the future. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But because that process of relearning how to add is going to be one that's going to solidify your understanding of arithmetic even in the base 10 system that we use. And so you'll be a better teacher because of it. That's really what this course is about, and that's what I'm here to help you through. All right, this video is probably already too long. I'd like to welcome you to class. I really look forward to working with you all. Please let me know if there's anything that I can do for you and as we go through the next few weeks together. This is Rick Vaughn, and I look forward to our discussions in the board. Thank you.